As the great poet and lyricist Jaleel Hutchins of Houdini asks, friends, how many of us have them? Friends, ones we can depend on. Today, we will begin exploration of a topic near and dear to our hearts, friendship. Throughout this series, we will ask the questions: how do we define friendship in adulthood? What does it mean to label someone a friend? And how best can we maintain these relationships through the messiness of life? Hello, and welcome to the You Can Call Me Karen podcast, where we discuss current events and pop culture topics with the goal of finding common ground through shared experiences and balanced perspectives. I am Steph J, and I'm joined by my dear friends, Karen Horwitz and Manny Rosa.
Ooh.
Today's episode, we will focus...
Karen has had a beverage. Go.
Today's episode, we will focus on friendships that have stood the test of time, why they are important to have, and how can we maintain them. But before we get started with today's topic, let's check in with Manny and Karen to find out, who you calling Karen?
Who you calling Karen?
So, who you calling Karen this week? Who's got a story queued up and ready to go? Manny?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. Hi, everyone. So happy to be back on the pod. Who am I calling Karen this week? Okay, well, I feel like we've had a lot of discussions that have really helped me be aware of my inner Karen and also the external Karens that come my way. So, I think in this situation, I was almost about to be a Karen. Okay. So
this feels like therapy. Like Here it comes.
It was about to go down. No. Okay. So, I go to the gym and I usually go to the gym. I'm a 5 a.m.er. But over the summer, I know
I am a 5 a.m.er too.
I know. Yes.
I love it.
It's amazing. There's not a lot of people there, which is about to bring me to my point. So, over the summer, I try not to go that early because I don't really need to. I'm not really, on a set schedule. So I've been going, a little bit later in the day, and there is a new person working at the YMCA who is not very appreciative of my workout routine. And I have a pretty elaborate workout routine because I do the Peloton app and I do like a tread boot camp. So I'm on and off of the treadmill. So the first time we had an encounter, she moved my weights while I was still, yes, you don't touch somebody's weight. Okay. So Steph, I saw that face, right? And so she moved my weights. Then I moved the bench out of the way because I'm also doing a lot of whatever. And, I moved the bench out of the way and she in the middle of my workout, I'm trying to catch my breath. And she's like, can you move the bench back? And I'm like, oh my God.
Wait, does she work here or?
She works there. Yeah. So I'm like, oh,
so you've never seen someone work out before? Or?
Yeah, that's how I'm it's just very confusing. She's very new. And then there's also this it's just the way the setup is at the YMCA. It's just kind of I go in a private area. So cause I know this about myself and my routine. I go in a private area. Nobody bothers me. I don't bother anybody else, but all of a sudden it's a problem. And on Friday I was there and, I usually leave the door open because a lot of people try to come in and out. It's also very hot in there. And she just comes and removes the thing as the door's open. I was like, can you leave that open, please? And she's like, my manager says it's a fire hazard. And I the way my eyes rolled to the back of my head, I was just all right, what, and thankfully I had my workout to kind of go through all of the rage and all of the emotions. Mm-hmm. And thankfully I had these conversations to rely back on because I was well, I'm going to talk to her manager. I literally said that in my mind. And then I remembered the poor honey deer just trying to do her job, you know? And so at the end of my workout, I just said, I went up to her. Because I also remember, like, you know, we try to lead with curiosity, right? Although I might not have said anything, my body language did communicate something. So I went up to her and I was like, look, it's not you. Like, I'm just letting you know it's a little bit inconsistent, right? When you're not here, the rules are a different way. And, you know, I just have to like adjust to that. But it's difficult when I'm in the middle of my workout, you know? So I was like, it's all good, you know? So anyway, it ended up being like fine, but yeah, it was a little bit intense there for a second. So
I forgot that you had a, like, we discussed leading with curiosity. Like, that's such good advice and reminder, like, because I also was very irritated by this girl. So she would have
I
read
know, and
some
like
nasty body language for me too.
all I wanted to do was be like, I've been working out here for 4 years, and you know, and like that's entitlement, right? Like that, like I want to be entitled to. But the truth probably is, she's young. This is probably her first job. You know, if I would have asked her some questions, I would have realized where her fear was coming from. You know, of like, she probably is just like, look, I got to follow the rules. This is my first job. I'm trying to, you know, I don't know what she has going on that she's trying to make sure she doesn't get fired from this job. Right. So she's just doing what she was told to do. So anyway.
I love it.
So this is Karen. And I didn't really have a Karen this week. I mean, like, I never have an inner Karen because I'm perfect. But but we were talking about this before we got on, and I was like, I don't really have one this week. And Manny, I think you said, like, that's amazing. We should talk about that. But the reality is, I didn't really leave my house very much this week. I worked from home, and yeah, I didn't expose myself to other humans very much. So, you know, we all need a break from the Karens out there. I think that's healthy. It's productive.
And it's
I
like
did a lot of meditation. It was lovely.
Wow. That is good. Yeah, exactly. So the way that we avoid Karens is by staying in the house.
Yeah, just hermit up and avoid all contact with other humans. And then you're foolproof. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Do we have
I'll do
anything
better
else we
next
need
time.
to discuss? Because that
We're all
seems like
done here.
This is a good plan.
No, back to you, Steph. Let's get into the topic.
Okay, so today we are going to be discussing specifically lasting friendships. Friendships that have stood the test of time. This topic is really particularly special to me because I have somehow maintained close relationships with women from many stages of my life. I still have one of my best friends I've had since 8th grade. I have friends that I met in high school that I'm still in contact with. Karen and Manny, we met in college and we are still very close, and our group extends beyond the three of us. Anyway, it's something that is near and dear to my heart in particular. When I met my husband, when I was about 33, 34 years old, it's one of the first things he actually noticed about me was that like when we met and we started to do things socially, he was noticing that my friends were like talking to me, telling him stories of me when I was 15, when I was 18, when I was 25. And he'd always say it was interesting to him that I had so many lasting friendships. And it wasn't until he pointed that out that I realized that that's not really necessarily the case for everyone. But then I realized also it's something that if that's not necessarily the case, it's something that I put effort into having. So I've kind of been reflecting on that, and I realized that that's really because of my mom. My mom modeled the value of friendships for me. She and my dad moved here from Jamaica, and when they came to Ohio, they found other Caribbean islanders, so not just Jamaicans, Trinidadians, people from Barbados, and they kind of created a network. And several of the women in that group became who are basically my aunties. They raised me. we've spent holidays, birthdays, but in between, in between the big get-togethers, and we're Jamaican, so like they found a reason to get together, and we danced, and, ate good food and stuff. So there was always big things going on, but in between, my mom would be on the phone with my aunties and for hours, just catching up and sharing stories, and and also those same women would go on trips with each other, just women, no kids allowed. And they leaned on each other in hard times, which we all have had. And so I kind of just knew that I wanted that in my life. It was just really special to see my mom have this group of women that she counted on, leaned on, and that they had special trips together. And they spent such a significant part of my life as a kid, too. So that's going to be my why. That would be why I found it important to me to maintain relationships. So, what I wanted to do is toss that question out to you. I kind of have two questions for you guys to kind of lead our discussion. And I think those questions are intertwined, like the why and then the how. So I'm going to just pose them both. And then when you guys go to answer, you can answer whichever question feels most natural, because my why kind of explains my how. But it might be different for you. So, my two questions are: why is it important to invest in long term friendships? And my question number two is: how do you make it work? What are ways we go about maintaining these lifelong friendships?
Before we dive into answers, your story made me think about your family a lot, and I just realized, like, is Aunt Joan, is she not really bio aunt? Is
She's
she?
bio aunt, but
Oh,
she's
she
like
is bio aunt.
she is bio aunt, but she's not. She's probably the only one that is bio aunt.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, wait a second.
Right.
Who are all these people? But
Yeah.
I always think about that with our kiddos, because my son calls you two auntie or auntie, depending on which. And one day he's going to be very confused that, like, wait a second, who are all these people in my life?
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I can start. I think for me, like, I struggle with this question a little bit of, like, why is a long term friendship so important? Because I guess I don't really place the emphasis as much on the fact that it's long term or lasting.
Mhm.
I just place the emphasis on the person. And
Mhm.
over time, I have some people who have lasted the test of time. And to
Mhm.
me, in a lot of cases, are as important and sometimes more important than family. Like, I
Mhm.
look at my extended family, and I don't have very close relationships with them. My mom's side is very geographically spread out, is very um, spread out in terms of, like, culture and opinions, and so, yeah, I just don't feel very connected to them, whereas, like, the two of you have become my family over time. And when you say family, it comes with this, like, totally different mentality. It's going to sound bad, but it's like a friend feels a little bit easier to shed, than a family member. And so, like, over time, I have some friends that have just morphed into family, and, like, then we're in it together. We're in it through thick and thin, and it's like we may go through times where we don't talk as much, and we may go through times where we're not necessarily in sync in our lives, but it's like, it doesn't matter. You're my family. And so we'll work it out during those times. And then when we come back, like, our lives naturally kind of come back together, then I get more, or like deeper, or whatever. So to me, it's like, I don't know, like, once you become my family, you're stuck with me.
Mhm.
We're in it. We're in this thing together.
I was hoping that that would come up, because I feel like I think, like you said, I don't have long term friends because it's important that someone is my friend for a long time. I have long time friends because I've noticed, like, I kind of sink my teeth into you, and once you're my friend, you're my friend, and I care deeply about you very quickly, and then I'm like, that's it. You're stuck with me, kind of, a kind of a thing. And but I love that you brought up the fact that over time, I just like that you brought up friends versus family, and the idea that it's hard to shed friends. but it's easier to shed friends than it is family, and like relabeling the people that are significant in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, Karen, you talk about that often, and I always feel very honored
Mm,
when you say that, because that just feels like one of the best compliments that you
mm,
could give a friend, of like that, like, I chose you
mm,
to be my sister, even though you weren't, we weren't born to be sisters. Like, I'm bestowing this honor to you, and
mm.
as somebody who has an incredible sister, like, that just feels like a really yummy place to live and exist. And I always just, like, whenever you say that, I always just like humbly accept that invitation, because it feels really precious. I was also thinking about what you guys were saying about the family and how it was modeled to you, and this whole, what is an auntie and who's your real auntie, and because we just encountered this. We just went on a big family vacation, and we were like kind of uncovering who's who in our family. And like, yeah, you as a kid go through this period, at least in the Black community, I know, where it's like, okay, these are your aunties. And then you understand that they're not your aunties. And then now I'm approaching my, like, 40s, and it's like, no, but those are my aunties. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
then you don't know, but then
Yeah.
and then it starts to make sense, right? And so I just wanted to make sure I commented on that, and I'm going to try to, like, share this from, like, a perspective of, like, just being a mother myself with a teenager or a young daughter who's approaching teenage age, and all she wants to be is around her friends, and I keep hearing these messages about third spaces, and how have you guys heard of third spaces before?
No, I don't think so.
So in society, we used to have third spaces, but now we've eliminated them. So your first space is your home. Your second space is
Mm-hmm.
work and school, right? Your third space is where you used to go to, like, the roller skating rink or the
Yeah.
mall or like the bingo
The
hall or whatever it
playground.
is, right? And this is where you used to go to hang out and make connection with your friends. And so um, we don't have to talk about this at all. But the book, The Anxious Generation, has been, like, talking about how kids are on their phones a lot more. And I was just, again, listening to that Sarah Marshall podcast, where they were talking about, like, maybe the phones are what are keeping the kids connected, right? Maybe that's what's
Oh,
keeping them.
fascinating.
Yeah, maybe we should stop blaming the phones and blaming the fact that we invest in putting Chick-fil-A's on every corner instead of, um, putting into our malls and pouring into spaces where these kids can
Mm.
hang out, And so, anyway, I think about that with the lasting, long friendships of, like, right now, this is the most important thing in my daughter's life. And, sometimes I want her to be here with me, but, like, building those friendships and relationships are super important for her, because it gives her security. Those are people who can relate to her. It's helping her with her development, right? And she's getting actual intimacy. And again, another Brene Brown, Esther Perel discussion was around, she turned AI into artificial intimacy. That's what we're getting right now
Mm.
through social media, right? Through likes, through comments, through shares, right? But what friendship brings to us is authentic intimacy, authentic connection, right? And so my lasting friendships, when my daughter sees you guys visit or my friends visit with their kids, right? What it is it's signaling to her that what she's doing right now is important. What she's doing right now is right. What she's doing right now is building connection. What she's doing is impactful and meaningful, and it's inspiring. So, yeah, that's I think
Oof.
that's my why.
We could easily go down a rabbit hole on this, children, unlike our kiddos, because I am at the stage, my son is 6 now, and he is starting to very much value his friendships, which means, he wants to spend more time with his friends. And it used to just be mom and dad. Like, we were his favorite people in the whole entire world. Still are, but
Right.
it is something that I am contemplating daily, of like how to let him go into the world and like make these friendships that are going to be more important to him than I am. which
Mhm.
kills me. But like, I think about my relationship with my parents. It's like on day one, the first day I met Maxwell, the first day I held him, I literally stared at him and I thought, you're never going to love me as much as I love you. And then
Mm.
I immediately afterwards thought, oh my gosh, my poor parents, like they have felt that way. They have
Yeah.
looked at me and thought that before. But but then like I have this battle with myself of like, I have to let him have that. Like these friendships are going to be so critical to him on so many planes, that like I'm never going to be able to replace that, nor should I.
Mhm.
Nor should I want to or expect to. And it's interesting to hear, yeah, you going through it with your daughter, like at this stage in her life where it's
Yeah.
real. It's so real.
Well, you're making
Mhm.
me think about like, put us three on a panel with three women who don't have lasting friendships. And is the difference the decisions that the parents made in their formative years about allowing
Mm.
them to hang out with their friends? Like, is the
Mm.
parent just as much involved in the lasting friendship as,
Well, I mean,
you know?
Steph's
Mm.
opening story was literally seeing her mom and seeing the way that her mom behaved with her friends and knowing that that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you do have to
And
wonder if that's like really critical.
well, this is interesting because Manny, your daughter's turning around the age that I was when I met my friend Corrine, right? Who was in my wedding, and I got married late in life, quote
Yeah.
unquote. Um, and so it's interesting because I like if I throw myself back to Brielle's age, like would I know that, 30 years later, this
Yeah.
friend I met at a third space, by the way, I met her at camp. Like,
Mhm.
it's like,
Oh, interesting. I didn't
yeah,
know
I met
that.
her at a summer camp. And, you know, anyway, I think like kind of what you said, do parents play a role in that? Yeah, like my parents facilitated, like it was okay. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you guys can meet up, and yes, it's okay that you're on the phone as long as they call before a certain hour, and you're allowed to do those things. And um, so, yeah, I guess we do play a big role, and that makes me so nervous. My baby's
Yeah.
only 2, and like another thing that comes to mind is kind of like, so I know that like I referenced Houdini Friends earlier, and I know that
Oh
that's
yeah.
an old song, but like there's some lines in it that had me thinking. There's a line that's like, but some mistake kindness for a fool. We like to be with some because they are funny. Others come around when they need money. So like like,
Mm,
so what I take from that is when we're like fostering and facilitating friendships for our kids, helping them realize like what's important. Like, are you hanging out with them because they make you laugh? Is that enough? Like some of those comments that are in that line, it's like
Yeah.
what values or what kind of things make you sink your teeth into them and decide you're my friend and you're important to me. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we
I
make
also
sure?
think it's we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as parents because we
Mhm.
want to do better. Like we want to do better than our
Mhm.
parents and they wanted to do better than theirs, right? And that is important. However, learning those lessons yourself is very important. Like our children going through the like the stages in the life cycle of friendship is more important than us trying to tell them what to look
Right.
out for. Like you
Right.
have to experience that firsthand and then you have to hope that those experiences don't, have um like negative consequences, or at least like lasting negative consequences. That's the part that just scares me, but I am learning very quickly now that we have a school age child that like I'm going to try to protect him and I'm going to tell him not to do certain things cuz he'll get hurt or not to hang out with certain people cuz they don't have his best interest in mind, but at the end of the day until he does it and learns from those experiences, it's just words and his brain
Mhm.
isn't developed
Right.
enough to understand what those words like actually result in, like the consequences of these things. Like it's just, he has to figure it out the hard way, unfortunately. And that's hard to just sit
Oh.
idle by and be like, yeah, go for it. This is not going to end
Mhm.
well. And I know it.
Well,
And
that's what I was going to say is that like as I get older and I think you guys are a couple years away from this, but the thing that I do love right now about Brielle and like where I am and speaking of friends is that I have moms in my circle who have kids in high school, right? So when I talk about the things that I'm like, should I let her do it? They're like, I wish my kid was still doing that right now. Like, and not in like a toxic positivity, but they're like, high school, ugh, right?
yeah,
And so like
yeah,
it's cool to have like friends who are like, no, like that's nothing compared to what you're about to
yeah.
experience, right? And what it makes me think about is that my mom was always in the periphery. Like she was always like when I look back, actually I called my mom a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago when this like when Brielle's travel sports was like starting to really pick up. And I was like, you did this as a single mother. Like, I don't think I love my kids as much as you love me. You know, like
I don't have it
sometimes
in me.
I can't, I have to go 15 minutes outside of the radius of my house and I'm pissed off. You know, you were driving up and down the East Coast for me and my like soccer tournaments. I don't understand, right? But those are the kind of things like your parents got you to those places. There are parents who won't, like, I honestly think there are parents who won't do that because it is inconvenient for them. So I don't know. I think my parents knew more than I think I thought they knew. And they were playing much bigger role on the outside than I was aware of in the development of my friends based off of who they would drop me off, whose house they would drop me off at and whose house they wouldn't, you know? And I don't know. I wasn't planning on talking about any of that, but I just kind of now I'm thinking with this question of like, why is it important to invest in long lasting friendships? And, you know, you just see it I just kind of see it. You'll be able to see it with your kids when the group of kids that they're, you know, invested in, you'll be able to see it and you'll be able to see who you're going to want to, I'm sorry, that look. I was like, what's happening? Is a monster
Sorry.
approaching?
Well, I mean, so speaking of these lasting friendships, I should say that, yeah, maybe a monster is approaching. That no, one of like my dearest childhood friends, who I literally grew up across the street from, has come back into my life at this stage. Like she lives now a half a mile away from me, which we didn't realize until a few months back. I work with her husband, you guys. Like this is how we discovered that we lived so close to each other. And now she and her husband and her two little girls are at my house. And when we wrap up this recording, I'm going to go play with them. And that's just like full circle. Like I grew up with this
Yes.
woman and now we are
Snaps for
raising our
synchronicity.
kids together. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Every time we get together, we think about this because, like, um, I can't recall. I think she moved in after we lived there. Like my entire childhood memories are literally filled with her and her family. I would like be in and out of her house all summer long. She has two younger sisters. They would be playing at our house all summer long. Um, Thanks to her and her mother's brilliant cooking, I was exposed to more than just like salt and pepper and meat and potatoes. And
And Karen can cook, y'all.
thank you. I haven't mastered Indian food yet, but her mom definitely made some bomb ass Indian food when we were kids. And like, yeah, it's just wild to think that some of this is so much luck, you know, and just like where you are in a space and time and who you get exposed to. And this conversation is really making me reflect on what influence I do or do not have on the friend choices my son makes and like whew, how important that is in the big in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things. So I hope
So don't fuck
we're
it up.
doing it right.
So I guess that's like
Yeah,
a
the
good like
pressure is on.
segue into Steph's second question of like, how do we make these work? What are ways? we maintain these lifelong friendships?
Yeah, I was you were reading my mind, Manny. I shared with you ladies a reel that I think kind of speaks to how it like how lasting friendships even exist or how adult friendships exist, because I guess friendships are lasting if they continue into your adulthood, right? So I think some of the things that she said in this message that stood out to me was not needing to talk all the time. Like the idea of just sharing a meme, like sending a meme or a message on Instagram. One of my good friends, another good friend of mine, like we literally talk via meme, like just back and forth. That's
I
the
love
only way we
that.
communicate. Um, and the ability to sit in silence is something else that she said she loves about her friends. Um, and she said another thing that helps her is being willing to say, let me get on your books. I love that she even put it like that. Like, when it's time or it's been a long time, um, that kind of reminds me actually of Cream. Like, it'll be a minute since we've spoken, and then we'll say, hey, are you alive? When can I see you? And we meet each other with no hard feelings. Like, it's
Yeah.
just pick right back up, and we don't beat each other up about it. And so anyway, thoughts on all of our adult friendships. I feel like our group has done a lot of cool things to stay in the loop. What do you think?
I like what you said about no hard feelings. Like I have, um, I tend to be a bit more guarded and protective with my time. I am an empath by nature, and so human energy really affects me and can really drain me. And so I try to give my time to the people who give me the most energy and don't take more than they give, basically. But I think because of that, like I've been very selective over the years of like the people who I very much recognize that in and try to direct my time and energy to those people. So like earlier this week, I had dinner with Katie, who you guys know from my childhood. There's only a couple who have lasted that long for me. And she's just one of those people where every time we see each other, we could have gone 3, 4, 5, 6 months without speaking. And we just pick up right where we left off. And there's no, I'm sure we all have those friends that are like, I miss you, or it's been too long. We haven't talked. And it's like a guilt trip. And to see the other side, right? That's probably a little bit of their guilt of like, why haven't I reached out more? Why haven't I connected more? But either way, that places negative energy into the dialogue. Whereas with my friend Katie, it's like we just get together and it's like, oh my gosh, we have so much to catch up on. I want to hear everything. Tell me. And we just are excited and we listen and we reminisce and whatever. And I think for me, the how is really about that. It's like, there's no um, there's no hard feelings. Life is busy, and you can't waste time. Like when we do have the precious time together, I don't want to spend any of that feeling bad about time lost, and just really being present and really hearing from the other person and sharing what's going on in your life and just being a part of each other's lives for the time that you do have. So to me, like that is the how. Like that is so critical. I can't live in that space of guilt and like what ifs. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
the When you were saying that, it made me think of I know I keep referring to Green, but like something that she always says
When's
is
the last
like,
time
I
you
like
talked to her?
that
No, just kidding.
when we get together, because she doesn't live far from me, and when we do finally get together, she's like, I like that, like you can just sit on my couch, like you can open my fridge, we don't even have to talk. I
Mhm.
can, now we both have little ones, and we're hair's a mess. We're running around chasing them, like we're taking turns cutting pizza and and there's no performance, there's no extra.
Yes,
Like, it's
performance.
real, it's natural, and they she takes me as I am at that point, and I take her as she is at that point, and it's just pretty raw. And so she's like, there's certain friends where I have to like bolster up to get ready for if they're coming to my house. And I know you can just come on in, sit down, and that's like easy to me, kind of like what you were saying with protecting my energy. And so we just try to make it easy for each other.
The performance comment like really hits home. Like there's certain friends, the two of you, where I don't have to perform. Steph, you just came and stayed with us, and hopefully you felt this way, but I certainly felt like you guys made yourself at home. You found your way around the kitchen. I didn't have to like apologize for the state of my refrigerator. I don't know, I'm making it up.
Mhm.
It's just like you're
Mhm.
here, your family, what's mine is yours, help yourself, and like just this is your home too. So I love friends that are like that, and I want to just give all of my energy to those people because it's
Mhm.
easier and it feels more real and raw, like you said. I love that performance comment.
Yeah, this will be when we dive deeper into our friendship series. This I think will come back for me because I I love performing for my friends. I love no matter what kind of friend you are. I love hosting my friends.
Yes.
I love doing that kind of service and hospitality. I chose my home because I have that, right? Like, cause I don't love leaving my home. I don't want to have to go sit in a restaurant. Like, I'd rather just you come to my house and feel like I love like cleaning my house all the time. So it will always be that way for my friends because I enjoy that. But I love doing that for my friends because that's just like, I don't know, like that's like, I won't pick you up from the airport, right, guys? But I will.
Thank the Lord.
When your Uber arrives.
Manny is a terrible driver. I don't know if my microphone is picking me up,
Yeah.
but
Loud
I'm
and
just
clear.
kidding.
Loud and
I'm just kidding.
clear.
She's not. And that was gonna be what I was trying to think about with like, I don't think I finished my last point and it's okay. I don't need to, because I think we'll pick it back up in the rest of our series. But I think in this place that I'm at currently in this phase of my life, I was going to say, like, I think it really just depends on where you are with your friends in your phase of life, right? Like in this phase of life, again, you're older than me, but you're younger parents than me. You know what I mean? Like, so like you're in just a different phase. Like I can provide in a different way, where I'm not cutting up meals for my kids because my kids can do some of that. They're more self-sufficient. You know what I mean? Like my energy, I've gotten some of that back. Right. Anyway, but
I
I was,
also will say, like, that style of yours, I think everybody should have somebody like that in their life. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's no it's not unvaluable that that's how you, and like if we all wanted to be like the Monica, like I'm the hostess, then who would
Friends.
come over if everybody was the Monica? Like, so
right.
and when I come to your house, I feel so loved on and so like at home and so comfortable and so special. But it doesn't make me feel like guilty that if
Yeah.
you
Right.
come to
Hope
my
not.
house, we're
Yeah.
gonna have sandwiches and you can go
Yeah.
get your own, and we're gonna,
Yeah.
because that's okay. Like
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
just
I
wanted to.
think, no, I'm with you, Steph, because I like the way that you described performance is very different from the way, Manny, that you described performance. Like you host
Mhm.
and you love on and you dote on
Yes.
people. And it's genuine
Mhm.
and it's welcoming,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like I now need to perform back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
It's
I don't
more,
expect
it's
anything in
the way that
return.
you
Yeah.
host and you welcome people into your lives. And
Mhm.
so very different from the way that Steph, what you were describing of like having to perform for your
Mhm.
guests and like, and that
Yeah.
makes it feel uncomfortable and cold, and now I have
Mhm.
to like say the right things and put my dishes in the sink or whatever. Like
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't get that vibe from you in your
Mhm.
style at all. Obviously, that's why we're
Mhm.
here and talking about this. And like, yeah, I
Yes.
like
Well,
to
and you
cook for
guys
my
know that.
friends, and I like all of that too.
I think
Mhm.
what's apparent is like we're also in a group of friends, and each of our group of friends kind of has their, I don't want to say role, but like we know
Yeah,
who, is
Mhm.
what, right? And
yeah.
I'm going to come to you months in advance with a plan.
Yep.
I have
Like,
the text messages to prove it. Yes, yes.
and the Google
In the
documents.
Google Docs.
And that is why
Yeah.
we love you. Not, we can't all be that, clearly.
Yeah. And I think that's like what makes our friendship so cool is that everybody there's like a code of ethics, right? That
Mhm.
is like,
Mhm.
unwritten between all of us that we all are just going to allow us to be our quirky selves. But I think
Mhm.
I was like contemplating this with like, yeah, we have our Ohio State group of friends. I have my high school group of friends. I have my friends here, right? I have these different groups of friends. And I'm like, what is the thread though of the lasting? And I think it's like self-deprecating humor. Like
Mhm.
That's the one thing.
that's the thing. That's when
I
things
don't
start
know.
to
I
get
think I'm pretty
tense.
great.
When things start to,
I came on today on fire, so I'm sorry.
what I was going to say, when things start to get tense or when things start to get bland or when things start to get boring or whatever, there's always some kind of humor that brings
Mhm.
me and my friends back together. Like my friends and I love to laugh. It's not serious. It's not about drama. We can have really deep, intense conversations, but someone will always in the middle, like do something to
Yes.
like bring it back
Lighten the
up.
mood.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it just, and this is a constant in all of my circles. And so
Mhm.
I don't know. I was thinking
Same.
of like, how do I make it work? We laugh. We
Yes.
laugh.
Mhm.
And I
Yes.
don't think and
It's
laughter is like so freeing.
I see. So I'm so glad you said this because Erica, one of our mutual friends from college, is in town, and we just had dinner. My husband and I just had dinner with her and her husband last night, and you know how when Erica and I get together, we
The
are
snarky, snarky.
disgusting. You like we just can't stop ourselves. I don't know what it is about that woman. She just brings it out of me. Like she says one thing and we're both like, "Here we go." Like, and so it was just hours of like face hurting laughter and it was just therapy. It was like, what is the
Yes.
chicken soup for my soul kind of a thing. And we were driving home and I was like, oh, Bob, like every time we are with them, I just can't stop laughing. And it takes me back. It takes me back to college, the dumb shit we did, and
Mhm.
all of the laughs we had. And I think you're spot on with that, Manny. Like that
Mhm.
is a big theme with my friends and it's my favorite. I love it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yay.
Love that. Well, I feel like it's a good time to ask if anyone has any confessionals. So that would be like an epiphany or an aha
Mm,
moment or
I
um
do. Karen, if you want to
hey.
keep thinking. I
yeah,
have been
go.
I have been leaning forward because I have a confessional about
Okay.
my shirt.
What are you wearing?
Oh,
Oh
yes.
my God.
That's amazing.
Okay, wait, really quick.
All
Let me
the
give a
people can
description.
see.
Yes.
So the words are Thug Life on her shirt. It is the Golden Girls. I am not sure whose bodies they are on, but they look like straight up cheese, all like sitting on, I don't know, boxes or something, stairs maybe. There's some sunglasses, there's some tennies. Yeah, it's or, sneaks. I don't know, depends on where you're from.
Oversized.
Gym shoes if you're from Chicago. Yeah, fantastic. So the whole time you have been
Yes, because I
ruining
was
your
saving.
posture just to avoid showing us the
That's my confessional. I didn't want you guys to see it until the end, and then I kept getting a little, and I'm like, no.
shirt.
Lean
What's funny is
forward.
I saw you reach for something on the desk behind you at one point, and I thought maybe your cord was like too short because it was the most awkward reach, and then you decided you couldn't get to it, and so you stopped. Now I know why. Great. It's amazing.
That's my confessional.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you guys for being my friends.
Thanks for being. Oh, I'm not allowed to
Oh,
sing.
don't sing anymore.
Don't you sing.
Sorry, royalties. We don't make any money yet, so call me when we've got sponsors. As for me, I don't really have a confessional today. My confessional is I had a cocktail before this episode, and so I was feeling a little giggly when we first got started, but I think I pulled it together.
Well,
To
with
be
that, I think
determined.
I will end it with a quote that I found that I
Mm.
really love, and I think it speaks to pretty much everything we talked about. So it says, "Honor the friendships that allow you to pick up from where you last left off, regardless of how long it's been since you connected. The friendships that survive hiatuses, silences, and space. Those are the connections that never die." Just love y'all, love the people in my lives, and love
Love
you,
this topic.
listeners.
Yeah, love you,
Yay.
Karens.
Until next time.